contacted the Federation of Master Builders some time ago because I understand, as somebody who represents Mid and West Wales but lives in rural Wales and has always lived in rural Wales, the necessity for a really good, productive building industry that sustains those communities. Because it isn't just about what we've seen here and now on that film, but it's also about the large numbers of small medium enterprises, and in Mid and West Wales, micro enterprises that rely on you guys building houses so that they can come in behind you and support themselves in their own businesses, whether that's selling carpets, whether it's selling paints, whether it's providing people to do those jobs. And I know that the industry is absolutely crucial and essential for the vibrancy of those communities. So that is why I contacted the Federation of Master Builders early on, but I didn't know at that time that you had this campaign going on. So I was delighted that those two things coincided. And I'm sure you're all aware that as a Welsh Assembly Government, because you've been told, that we are supporting you in your bid to reduce the VAT on materials and goods down from the current 15% to 5%. The other thing that I'm also very aware of living in the area that I live in is the trade that happens with people knocking the door. I mean, they'll knock my door. They'll excuse me, they'll lock the doors in the street, offering to do jobs much, much cheaper than anybody that has the good sense to know knows they should do. And there are two things that happen there. One is that people like you are put out of business, and the other thing is that the cases that I pick up about people who've had their money taken away from them with no job being done, or the job that they have had done, they wish they hadn't had done. And they are very vulnerable people who are falling victim to cowboy builders. So anything that I could do to stop that absolute misery on two fronts, one to your industry and two to the people who fall victim to it, I was very interested in becoming a part of. So that is my background and why I felt that I wanted to get in touch with the Federation of Master Builders. In terms of what you're asking us to deliver and what we can deliver in the Welsh Assembly, we have actually got some good news, I think, that we can say. I mean, there is a clear commitment in the One Wales agreement to getting additional support, and on Tuesday the Finance Minister Andrew Davies brought forward £15 million to support 400 more affordable homes over the next 3 years. Now, we have a finite budget, and you know there are limited aspects to that budget. The other thing that I understand full well is the issue around procurement, and it is about who gets those contracts, and it also is about making sure that there is an equal and even chance for the people who do have businesses in those communities as I've just described, being able to be involved in that procurement process, and I'm fully aware of that. So I think that's another issue that you need to be lobbying your local politicians on, as well as us, and that would be my advice to you. You ask for the planning system to be slimmed down or speeded up. I used to be a Pembrokeshire County Councillor, and I know that in terms of planning, there has been a concerted effort by the Welsh Assembly Government for quite a number of years to speed up that process. And there is it is at the discretion of local authorities very often to determine planning without taking it to a planning committee. And again, in that respect, I would advise you to go to your local government representatives and ask them how they're helping you on their ground to meet that particular target. Because it isn't necessary to take every single planning application to a planning committee, which is a much longer, more arduous process and slows everything down. I'm trying to work through in terms of public sector bodies paying contractors, you will know that the Assembly Government has a commitment, and we announced it very early on in the process, about asking not only local government again to pay contractors, I think it was 30 days, within 30 days, but also that we made a commitment from the Welsh Assembly Government that we would do the same. And if anybody is aware that that's not happening, I'm quite happy to take those cases on, because I have taken them on, and that commitment is on the table, so that ought to be happening. The empty property rate relief, I have to confess I haven't had time to look into that, so I don't know exactly what's happening there. But we also, in the Welsh Assembly Government, have a strategic capital investment fund, which I think is excellent news for your particular sector. And we've just announced 40 schools and colleges across Wales that are going to benefit from nearly £109 million of capital investment. And I've got that particular list, and I can pass that out to you. And in some cases they are small-scale buildings that clearly people in this room, could, through that procurement process, have an opportunity to be involved in. And that was just announced yesterday. So again, it's local authorities who will be commissioning building of those projects. So it's again about that issue of procurement. So I think I've fairly well covered most of the issues, and also I don't want to not allow other people to have an opportunity.
Oh, thank you, Joyce. Thank you very much, Joyce.